One mistake, and the universe stops behaving. Not because it becomes louder, but because you finally build a way to hear what has always been there. And once you do, silence becomes the most frightening sound of all.
You grew up with the same comforting rule. Space is quiet. Vacuum means no sound. No air, no pressure waves, no footsteps, no screams. It feels clean, scientific, finished. But that rule is only true for one kind of hearing, the human kind. The kind that evolved to track predators in tall grass and thunder behind mountains. Out here, everything still moves, everything still collides, everything still oscillates. Fields shake, plasmas sing. Gravity itself ripples when massive objects break each other apart. The universe isn't quiet, we just can't hear it yet. Tonight, you're going to listen anyway. Not to a metaphor, not to a soundtrack, but to translation. To data mapped into sound the way a language is mapped into meaning. And you will feel, in your bones, the difference between silent and untranslated. The cabin is small, practical, and full of things designed to ignore your imagination. Fans, filters, pumps, the constant thin hiss of life support. The noises you trust because they mean you're still inside the world that knows your name. Outside the hull, the stars don't flicker, they don't whisper. They don't do anything a human ear can recognize. The window might as well be a painting. That's why the new system feels wrong the moment it boots. They call it an auditory translator, not a microphone because there is no air to move, not a radio because it is not tuned for conversation. It is a mapper, a machine that takes measurements you already collect and forces them into a range your body can react to. Brightness becomes pitch, distance becomes timing, energy becomes texture. The agency insists it's for accessibility, outreach, science communication. They publish beautiful clips of nebulae turned into bowls of ringing glass, galaxies turned into slow chords. But you are not here for outreach. You are here because the raw stream has a mode they do not release, an engineer's toggle, unfiltered. You tell yourself you just want the truth, the sound as close to the physics as possible. The translator warms up, runs diagnostics, and waits for your first target. You start close. You choose home. At first, it's disappointing. A thin wash of tones like distant wind, almost pretty, almost nothing. Then you realize what you're hearing is not space. It's the region around space that still has rules you recognize. The magnetosphere, the cocoon of fields and particles that shields your planet. The translator maps charged particles spiraling along magnetic lines into a trembling chorus. It is not sound in the normal sense. It is motion made audible. The voice of a place that does not need air to be alive. You increase sensitivity. The chorus thickens. You can almost imagine it as music until it shifts and you hear the first harsh burst, a crackle that comes in jagged steps like something snapping its fingers inside your skull. You check the source tag, solar wind interaction, natural, expected. You should stop there. Instead, you swing the sensor toward Jupiter. Jupiter is a machine made of gravity and charged storms, and its magnetosphere is a cathedral. The translator fills your cabin with low groans and bright needle squeals, the audio equivalent of massive, invisible machinery turning. You remember reading that lightning on Jupiter is real and violent and frequent. Now, when the system catches a burst, it doesn't sound like thunder, it sounds like teeth on glass. You tell yourself that's just mapping, that you're hearing energy, not intention. So you go farther. You point the translator into the heliosphere, into the stream of plasma leaving the sun. The tones flatten into a constant pressure, a dense hum like being underwater. Then the hum breaks. A narrowband line appears, a single frequency that holds, then wavers, then holds again. Your stomach tightens because your brain loves patterns. You pull up the reference library and see a note about a spacecraft that heard something like this long before you were born. Voyager 1, already beyond the planets, detected electron plasma oscillations at about 2.6 kilohertz and used that to infer the density of interstellar plasma. The number is clinical on a screen. In your cabin, it becomes a tone so thin and pure it makes you think of a hospital corridor at night. You shift the mapping down so the pitch sits in the center of your hearing. It becomes a steady whistle. The thought hits you with cold hilarity. If plasma can oscillate, then the space between stars is not a void, it is a medium. Thin, yes, almost nothing, yes, but not nothing. And if it is a medium, then silence is not guaranteed. Silence is merely improbable. You widen the net, you include X-ray flux, infrared gradients, radio intensity, anything your sensors can see. The sound grows layered. It becomes hard to breathe, not because the air is thin, but because your brain keeps trying to assign meaning. A higher chirp appears when the system catches a burst of radio. You think for one irrational second it's speech. It isn't. But you are no longer calm enough to be sure. You decide to test a different kind of sound. Not pressure waves, not plasma oscillations, something even more unsettling. You switch the translator to strain mode. Gravitational waves are not vibrations in air. They are vibrations in distance itself. When two black holes merge, space stretches and squeezes, and every ruler in the universe briefly lies. Most of the time, the effect is too small for the body to feel, but not for the instruments. The first confirmed detection, GW150914, produced a chirp that swept from about 35 Hz to 250 Hz. It lasted only a fraction of a second, but it sits right inside what humans can hear. You load the reference signal. The translator plays it. It is a short sound, a rising peep, almost cute if you forget what it means. Two black holes, dozens of times the sun's mass, spiraling and colliding. The cabin feels smaller after that, like the walls have moved closer, like the universe has leaned in. Then you stop playing old history and begin listening to now. The system waits, samples, filters. Minutes pass, only the steady chorus of cosmic noise. Then you see it. Not a chirp like GW150914, not a clean signature of a merger. Something lower, slower. A periodic swell that repeats with such patience it feels deliberate. Your hands hover over the controls. You remind yourself periodic signals happen. Rotating neutron stars can pulse. Plasma turbulence can create quasi-regular patterns. Instruments can produce artifacts. So you do the same thing. You cross-check. You switch sensors. You change mapping. You rotate the craft a few degrees. You compare channels. The pattern persists. It does not care where you point. And that is when you realize the horror is not that the universe might be loud. The horror is that you might be the quiet part. Your ship is full of rhythms, pumps, fans, your own heart, your own breath. You have been broadcasting your presence in vibration and heat and electromagnetic leakage since launch. The translator, in unfiltered mode, is not only turning the universe into sound, it is turning you into sound as well. You lower the cabin noise floor. You shut down non-essential systems.
The hiss of life support thins to the minimum it can tolerate. The cabin becomes so still you can hear the blood in your ears. The pattern changes. It does not vanish. It adjusts, like something matching tempo. A memory surfaces uninvited. A line from a press release you read once about black hole sound in a galaxy cluster, where ripples in hot gas could be translated into a note far below middle C, 57 octaves below middle C. You remember laughing at the headline, the way people always do when the cosmos is turned into a novelty. But the original phenomenon was not a novelty. It was real pressure waves moving through a medium, real, physical, undeniable. Now your cabin is filled with a different kind of undeniability. You are listening to a medium you can't see, and something in it has noticed the only thing that changed. You stopped being noisy. You became measurable.
You try to reclaim control by returning to the safe, beautiful versions. You load a sonification from the archive, a supernova remnant turned into layered instruments, a galaxy rendered as soft tones, a reminder that mapping can be art, that your fear could be a trick of interpretation. For a moment, it works. Your shoulders drop, your breathing steadies. Then you kill the archive playback and go back to live. The pattern is still there, like a patient finger tapping behind a wall. You begin to understand the scale of what you've done. Humans don't hear most of reality. You never hear ultraviolet. You never hear X-rays. You never hear magnetic fields. You never hear the slow tides of gravity reshaping trajectories over years. You only feel the slice of the world that kept you alive on a wet rock with air. So of course the universe seemed quiet. You were born deaf to almost everything that matters out here. The translator is not giving you new information. It is giving you new vulnerability. And vulnerability changes the meaning of every fact you know. If the interstellar medium can ring at kilohertz frequencies, then there are notes between stars. If black holes can drive pressure ripples through hot gas, then there is a kind of thunder in places you will never visit. If space-time can chirp in the audible band when massive objects merge, then reality itself has a voice. None of that is supernatural. And that is the worst part. Because it means you cannot dismiss what you're hearing as a ghost. You have to treat it as physics. You zoom into the signal and search for drift. It drifts. You search for harmonics. There are harmonics. You search for correlation with your own systems. Correlation rises when you change your noise profile. You do not say, "It's talking." You say something safer, something that still makes your throat dry. One possibility is that your quietness changed the measurement. One possibility is that the universe is not responding. One possibility is that you only now have enough silence to notice what was always synchronized. And yet, deep down, you know why that feels like a lie. Because you didn't just notice it. It noticed you noticing it. You sit in the dim cabin and let the translator run. You let it turn the invisible into pressure on your mind. You think about how people imagine space sound as a gimmick, a novelty clip, a haunted hum for a social post. But sonification is not the universe performing for you. It is you admitting you were never equipped to perceive it. And now that you've admitted it, you can't go back. You can shut the system off, sure. You can return to the comforting hiss of life support and the silence outside the hull. But you will know that the silence is cosmetic, that the universe is still moving, still oscillating, still carrying messages in media you never evolved to sense. You will know that quiet was never a property of space. It was a limit of your body. And limits are not safety. Limits are blindness. Science you can hear. dread you can feel. If you want the next tape, subscribe. The archive keeps growing. Because out here, the universe doesn't need to shout to be loud. It only needs you to finally listen. If you heard it, would you answer?